Welcome to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities, a production of iHeartRadio and Grim and Mild.
Our world is full of the unexplainable. And if history is an open book, all of these amazing tales are right there on display, just waiting for us to explore. Welcome to the Cabinet of Curiosities. Traditions are more than just things we do because we've always done them. For example, Native American traditions are rich with lessons on how to respect and connect with the natural world. In doing so, many Native people gain an understanding of how their own lives intertwine with the world around them. As an example, members of the Ojibwe tribe of North America passed down a legend related to one of the biggest parts of everyday life, sleep. Most people don't think of sleep as something strongly connected to the natural world around us, but this legend urges us to look at things differently, and it even gives rise to a mystical item that you might have in your home today. The legend goes something like this. There once was a woman named Asibakashi who watched over every creature on Earth while they slept. She was known to protect infants and children especially, but she wasn't protecting them from wild animals, ghosts, or even monsters. She was protecting them from bad dreams. Native peoples believed that dreams were a force of energy that surrounded a person while they slept. That energy then caused the person to see visions in their unconscious state. And so Asibakashi wove delicate silken nets over children's cribs. These nets trapped negative energy so that it couldn't give the children scary visions. She used her hands to make sure the nets were strong enough to catch bad energy, but also soft and soothing enough to sleep under. Because of the net's elegant web-like design, Asibakashi earned the nickname the Spider Woman. After a long, restful night, it was Asibakashi's job to put the sun back into the sky, another way that she controlled the good energy over the people that she cared for. This was Asibakashi's job for a long time, but at a certain point, the Ojibwe people began to migrate further and further throughout the land, and this made it harder for her to spread sunlight to all of her people. She couldn't do it on her own, so she asked tribal mothers and grandmothers to help. Asibakashi knew that mothers and grandmothers were strong, yet gentle enough to protect children and babies just like she did, but they didn't possess the same power of web making. So Asibakashi got creative. She came up with a way for the people to make webs like hers that they could take with them anywhere. Now, at first, she told the mothers and grandmothers to find a thin piece of willow and bend it into a circle, and then she showed them how to use the sinew, likely from a buffalo, to weave a web within that circle. To make the web extra special for children, some women decorated theirs with feathers, beads, and charms. Willow and sinew weren't strong enough to last forever, though. The willow would dry out, and then when that happened, the strands of sinew would collapse. But that was the point. Asibakashi knew that youth was temporary, so these webs were designed to fall apart as children grew up and became strong enough to confront their own bad dreams themselves. But even grown-ups needed help dealing with scary things from time to time, so many Ojibwe people began to weave webs entirely from fiber so that they would last longer. These kind of webs are still used today. You've probably seen them and may have even had one of your own. Today they're called dream catchers. Whether or not you believe that different forms of energy exist, dream catchers can still provide comfort. They're a symbol of love and protection that mothers provide for their children, and they're a reminder of Indigenous peoples' sense of community and their knowledge of natural resources. A lesson, to be sure, that all of us could take comfort in. Fans will do anything for the artist they love, sneaking into concerts, buying bootleg merchandise, anything to get closer to their favorite artist. For some music lovers, however, that's not far enough. They don't want to just listen to an artist's music or buy their t-shirts. They want to get to know the artist themselves. After all, fan is short for fanatic, and a real fanatic wouldn't let anything come between them and their idol. The year was 1926, and 21-year-old Thomas Fats Waller was on top of the world. His jazz career was taking off. He'd been asked to headline the College Inn, one of Chicago's most famous jazz clubs. And word was getting around about the talented pianist with the rapid-fire jokes. Every night, more and more well-heeled Chicagoans were packing in to see him. What Fats didn't know was that one particular jazz enthusiast had become intrigued by his talents. Instead of going out to see Fats at the College Inn, this man was going to bring Fats to him, whether Fats liked it or not. One night after a particularly raucous set, Fats was leaving the stage door for the College Inn when he felt something hard and cold poking into his abdomen. He realized with mounting horror that he was surrounded by 4 suited men, and one of them was pressing a revolver right into his stomach. The 4 men forced Fats into a waiting limousine and told the driver to head for East Cicero, a suburb of Chicago. Now, as you might imagine, Fats didn't know what to think. He had heard of the fearsome Chicago mob, who ran with guns, liquor, and any other smuggled goods they could get their hands on in the Prohibition City. Yet he couldn't think of what that had to do with him. He was a jazz pianist, not a gunslinger. But as the limousine drove deeper into the night, Fats worried that this would be the last ride he would ever take. Finally, the car pulled up to a nondescript venue in Cicero, and Fats was forced out once more at gunpoint and ushered through the door. Inside, he was surprised to find a party in full swing. The 4 black-suited men shoved him towards the piano and told him to play. So Fats Waller played as if his life depended on it. After the first few songs, he finally dared to look at the crowd, who were dancing, singing, and cheering with enthusiasm. And when he did, he was surprised to see a familiar face at the back of the room, one that he had seen plastered on wanted posters and newspapers. There, clapping and cheering the loudest of all, was Chicago mob boss Al Capone. It turned out that Fats wasn't in danger at all. Al Capone was famously a huge fan of jazz, often booking the biggest acts of the day to play in his underground speakeasies. Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, and Billie Holiday all performed in Al Capone's clubs. Al had heard about Fats' residency at the College Inn, and so as a surprise for his birthday, 4 of his henchmen had decided to bring him a private performance by Fats Waller as a present. Too bad they forgot to ask Fats about it first. Understanding that his life was no longer at risk, Fats was able to relax and enjoy the party. The gangsters plied him with mountains of food and glass after glass of expensive vintage champagne. Although he tried to leave several times, Capone and his boys kept convincing him to stay, offering him a tip of $100 per song. He reportedly stayed for 3 days, taking breaks from playing only to nap on the piano bench. Finally, the gangsters set Fats Waller free, allowing him to take the limousine back to the College Inn. They deposited him back where they found him, exhausted, drunk on champagne, and several $1,000s richer. Fats went on after his kidnapping by Capone to have a storied career and a huge impact on jazz piano. He wrote several Broadway musicals and hundreds of songs, including the jazz standards Honeysuckle Rose and Ain't Misbehavin'. Things could have gone very differently for Fats Waller. Thankfully, when Al Capone ordered him to blow them away, he was just talking about the music. I hope you've enjoyed today's guided tour of the Cabinet of Curiosities. Subscribe for free on Apple Podcasts or learn more about the show by visiting curiositiespodcast.com. This show was created by me, Aaron Mahnke, in partnership with How Stuff Works. I make another award-winning show called Lore, which is a podcast, book series, and television show, and you can learn all about it over at theworldoflore.com. And until next time, stay curious.